Hello everyone and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering Top 10. I'm Simon and once again I've taken most of my free time and converted it into a list of cards which most of you will undoubtedly persecute. So my question for you is, how much value do you think you can squeeze out of 1 mana? How about 2? What would you expect from a card which costs 5? As players, we're constantly looking for cards which give us an edge over our opponents. And one way we can do that is through efficiency. These are the spells and creatures which really give you the most bang for your manalicious buck, whether it be through insane stats or flexibility. These are the top 10 most mana efficient cards in MTG. Starting this list of most efficient cards is the original white weenie of wasteless mana, Savannah Lions. Dating back to the very beginning of Magic, Savannah Lions has been cutting the cost of white decks for years. As a rare, it doesn't do anything besides be efficient for its cost. I mean, just think about this card in terms of its original printing. A 2/1 body for a single mana? It was truly a scary turn 1 play. Savannah Lions, being a rare, may not have aged well when compared to other cards on this list. Even in Battle for Zendikar, we got an uncommon with similar stats in Expedition Envoy, beating out the old Lions simply for having the synergetic ally creature type. But I still pay homage to this senior savior of mana by granting it the number 10 spot on this list. Before everyone goes up in arms about Gristle Grants' mana cost, 8 mana with 4 of them being black isn't really efficient by any means. But I chose Gristle Grant for this list because of what the card can do as soon as it hits the field. Paying life to draw cards? Yes, that's a trade I'd do any day of the week. Not only does this creature draw you the stuff, it also gives you the life back. Having lifelink, Gristle Grant is a surprisingly generous demon. You don't even have to worry about getting in. It has evasion in the form of flying. Gristle Grant just gives you so much for its cost, but its cost still means it isn't very efficient. But take a look at where you find this card. Yep, you guessed it, reanimate decks. Cheating this guy into play means it's probably one of the most efficient creatures out there. And while that same statement can be said about a number of different cards, Gristle Grant, I feel, has just some of the most to immediately offer. In terms of mana efficiency, the more a single card is able to do, the more value you're able to gain from it. This principle was reaffirmed with the cycle of charms we got during the Return to Ravnica block. These guild color instant spells each came with your choice of 3 different effects. Since we can't be greedy, we're forced to choose only one of the options. Yet, the flexibility always remains. Cards become a problem when they're dead in your hand, meaning there's no specific reason for using a card. A card that sits in the hand doing nothing is a card that's lost a lot of its value. These spells try to limit their uselessness as much as possible, giving you a variety of ways to use them in different situations. Now we're getting to the good stuff. The Mirin Swords, a cycle of artifact weapons ranging from Darksteel to Scars of Mirrodin, were some of the strongest and reasonably priced equipments in the game. Each of these swords cost 3 colorless to play and another 2 to equip to a creature. While holding one of these blades, your creature gets +2/+2 and gains protection from enemy color pairings as specified from the card. For example, a creature holding the Sword of Feast and Famine would gain protection from black and green. That's pretty amazing in and of itself, but wait, there's more! Each of these equipments also offers 2 effects which trigger when the equipped creature deals damage to a player. Again, these effects are based on the colors of the specified blade, with the Sword of Feast and Famine causing your opponent to discard a card while also untapping all your lands. These artifacts are just pure value you can wield. Want to talk about variety? Savage Knuckleblade from Khans of Tarkir has it in spades. For 3 mana, you get an impressive 4/4 body. Granted, they're teamer colors, but having those types will come in handy for this thing's staggering ability choices. You'd think it being a 4/4 with 1, maybe 2 useful abilities would be enough to give it a great value. But hey, they decided to give Savage Knuckleblade 3 relevant abilities. You can pump it to a 6/6, give it haste, and even save it from death by bouncing it back to your hand. Even the weakest of these abilities, the haste, is made more prominent by the fact that it can return to your hand. Overall, its stats are nice and its abilities are just the icing on the mana value cake. I love it when spells are just built right into your creature. In the world of Legacy, value is king. there's no space for possible dead cards in your hand. This means you need an amazing curve that does work at all levels, especially early. That's where the humble, nimble Mongoose comes into play. This 1/1 Mongoose for 1 green may seem simple at first, but believe me, it packs more of a punch than it leads on. Firstly, it can't be targeted by spells or abilities, which is huge because removal is one of the most surest ways to deal with strong creatures. And you may be asking yourself, hey, a 1/1 doesn't seem very strong, but this guy isn't really a 1/1. Because it has Threshold, Nimble Mongoose gets +2/+2 so long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. I assure you, in Legacy, that means this card's essentially a 1 mana 3/3, which is just insane. When you're looking for value out of your spells, you want to find something that can deal with multiple threats at any given time. Slaughter Games is one of just a few cards which allows you to possibly remove a targeted threat entirely from your opponent's deck. For 2 generic and Rakdos colors, Slaughter Games allows you to name a non-land card and exile it from literally everywhere. If your opponent has the named card in their hand, so long, it's exiled. How about chilling in their graveyard? Oh, no reanimation tricks here, buddy. And of course, all remaining copies of said card will be removed from their deck and exiled as well. This card's only made better by the fact that it cannot be countered by spells or abilities. Once you set your sights on removing a card, there's little your opponent can do. Just thinking about this card being used against a Relentless Rat deck is enough for me to name it number 4. Creatures tend to gain value through 2 different means, either having insane stats for its mana cost, or by having uniquely powerful abilities. Siege Rhino is a rare example of a single card possessing both. For 1 generic in Absent colors, you get a hardy 4/5 body. Perhaps not the most efficient, but certainly respectable. The value doesn't stop there, however, as Siege Rhino immediately impacts the board with a built-in Helix Lightning. Creatures who weave spells into their effects, to me, have some of the best value prospects. And in that regard, Siege Rhino is king. As soon as it hits the board, you get a 6-point life swing in your favor, on top of a 4/5 with trample. It's a powerful creature which impacted standard in a way we rarely see. I mean, the card had several memes attesting to its strengths, for God's sake. If that doesn't prove its value and efficiency, then I don't know what will. While Siege Rhino may perfectly weave a strong body with the effects of a spell, it doesn't hold a candle to the god of creature abilities, Deathright Shaman. For the low price of a single mana, you get a creature whose 3 abilities can all significantly impact the game. With its stats being 1/2, it's certainly not the best fighter around, but its value is drawn from its abilities. This guy messes with the graveyard better than any other creature out there. Combine him with any number of other cards, and he can be a strong mana provider, which can also gain you life and dish out damage. It's found its way into several decks for its cost-effective playability and variety. I mean, even playing this thing is made easy in that you can pay for it in either black or green mana. If you're looking for a card to manipulate a graveyard but don't want to break your mana pool doing it, Deathright Shaman's the card for you. The foundation of value and mana efficiency is that good stats should come at a cheap price, and no card better fits this bill than Delver of Secrets. For a single blue mana, you're always going to play this as a 3/2 flyer. Those stats have never before or since been seen on a creature for that cost. It made waves in Standard and now is leading a revolution in Modern and Legacy. Its value comes in its simplicity. Making this a 1 mana 3/2 flyer is relatively simple in most decks, especially those sporting blue. It takes almost no effort to guarantee this thing will flip at the beginning of your next upkeep. There's a reason why it's become so iconic. Delver of Secrets is just the most bang you can ever get from a single mana in all of Magic. That is, if you're talking about creatures anyway. Regardless, none would dispute that Delver of Secrets is very cost effective, and he's certainly my number 1 most efficient card in MTG. And there you have it, guys, my top 10 most mana efficient cards in Magic the Gathering. Of course, I'd like to remind you that this is simply my opinion. Many of you will probably both agree and disagree with me on different spots on this list, and I want to know how you'd rate it. What cards do you believe have the most value or are the most mana efficient? Let me know in the comments below. In any case, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more MTG Top 10s, consider giving the video a like and share it with your friends. It goes a long way in supporting future content. You can also support the channel by visiting my Patreon page and following me on social media. Find those links in the description below. As always guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.